All right, hi everyone. We're back and we're tying the Brassie tonight. This is a great little midge pattern, and also fished it as a caddisfly larva pattern. It's not the most complicated fly, and I'm gonna approach this one as if you're just learning how to tie, and so we'll kind of break it down step by step, and hopefully it helps you. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So this one, I'm tying this one on a size 18 caddis hook. It's a TMC. This one I think is a TMC 2488 if you're looking for the specific hook. And it's small. Obviously midges are quite small. I usually fish this one as a midge pattern, sometimes as a caddis if I have to, but fish this one as a midge. So I'm going to tie it on a size 18, but if you're just getting started on this, I would say probably go down to a 16 and maybe even a 14 until you get comfortable with the techniques and the tools, and then you can kind of size down as you get more comfortable. But sit down, get all your stuff out, make sure you lay out your hooks, lay out all your materials. I always suggest if you're just getting started, I'd tie at least a half dozen of these. I would do that with any pattern until you get pretty comfortable with the techniques. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Thread, something you'll probably have to give some thought to, is the type of thread you're going to use. I personally, because we're going to wrap the body of this with wire, we want as smooth and tapered of a body as possible. So we're going to be using UTC 70, this black UTC 70 thread. That thread will kind of spin the bobbin as we go, which will allow the thread to kind of spread out, which makes it easier to build up a tapered body. But if you're just getting started, I wouldn't worry too much about that part of it. That'll come as you get more comfortable with the fly. So let's go ahead and, geez, I'm about out of thread. Let's go ahead and get our thread base tied down. And I'm gonna leave a little bit of space. One of the harder things to do with this fly is to finish it off. I actually tie this one a lot with a bead head, sometimes with a tungsten bead if I want to get it down deep. But just for the sake of practice, I think we'll do this one without the bead, because one of the hardest things to do, especially on these small flies, is to finish the head and make it look clean and neat. So this one does not have a bead on it, so it's going to be a relatively, I wouldn't say light fly because it's going to be wrapped in copper wire, but we could make it heavier. I like using a little X-Acto knife. I got this thing, and it's what I use to cut most of my thread, and you literally just have to put just a tiny bit of pressure on the thread as you're working through it, and it preserves the life. I think it preserves the life of your scissors. Now, lots of different ways you can do this, but if you're just getting started, let's just go ahead and wrap the thread all the way back to the bend of the hook, and that is going to help us to know about the size of the body of this fly. Now once I've gone back to the bend of the hook, we're gonna bring the thread all the way back to about the 3/4 spot on the hook, and that's where we're gonna tie in our wire. Now I would say if you're 18 or size 20, if you're tying an 18 or a size 20, I would use small copper wire. If you're getting any bigger than that, then I would go up to probably the medium copper wire. So if you're tying a 16 or a 14, then you can probably get away with medium wire. So we're gonna break off about a 5-inch long piece of wire. When I tie this in, I'm going to tie it in along the side of the hook that is closest to me. And we're just going to get a first couple wraps are going to secure it down. And then as we pull, we're just going to keep the wire, make sure that we keep the wire on the side of the hook. And that's just going to give it, once we get ready to wrap the wire, it's going to help it be a little bit more tapered. And take your time on this one, especially if you're just doing this for the first time. You can see that our body is relatively smooth, which once we actually get ready to wrap the wire, that's really helpful because it gives it just a better tapered body. Now at this point, We're going to spin our bobbin counterclockwise, and that'll open up the thread a little bit, so that as we bring it forward, one wrap after another, we should have a very smooth tapered body. And again, we're going to go up to about the 3/4 length on this hook. There we go. Okay, now to wrap our wire. Now this takes a bit of practice to kind of get this down, but we don't want any gaps between our wraps of the wire. So you kind of have to be able to navigate wrapping the thread while also, or sorry, wrapping the wire while also keeping your thread out of the way. And so just kind of moving the thread forward with every wrap that I make. And we're trying to keep those wraps as tight as possible. There we go. And a couple more to get us up to the 3/4. All right. Now, as we tie this off, let's get our threads scooted forward a little bit on us. We're gonna make a few tight wraps. So my first wrap is just to kind of secure the wire down. And then as I make my next couple wraps, these ones, I'm giving quite a bit of pressure on the wire. Pull the wire up, a couple tight wraps in front. And you'll notice that we've still left a decent amount of space right behind the eye. So we've got lots of space to finish off our fly. Now at this point, you can cut the wire if it's pretty small wire, so it's not going to destroy your scissors immediately. But at this point, you should be able to just give it a couple helicopter spins and that'll pop off. Now, for the thorax of this fly, we're going to use a strip of peacock herl. You can use dubbing for this too, but if you're just getting started, I would suggest using the peacock herl. And I'm gonna just pluck off some of the ends of those fibers so it's a little easier to tie that down. And again, just like with anything, first wrap is relatively loose to grab hold, and then the rest of the wraps are gonna get tighter as you go. Okay, now we'll bring our thread right up to behind the eye. We still got a decent amount of space up there, so when we're ready to finish the fly, we should have enough room. And we're gonna make a few wraps, and you can wrap right back over the middle of this body or the thorax. And then once I pinch this off, go one wrap, two wraps, and then pull it back and try to do everything you can to kind of clear space around the eye. A couple wraps to secure things down, and then we'll cut off the herl. And what I always like to do at this point, because peacock herl is incredibly delicate, and sometimes these flies don't last very long, but I'm gonna take just a couple wraps back through the middle of the peacock herl, and it's not gonna really change the look of the fly, but it definitely will extend its life. It just gives it a little more to hold on to. When we whip finish this fly, the whip finish is what's actually gonna create the head. And I'm gonna shoot for about 5 wraps on the whip finisher. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Slide that in, perfect. And again, we use our little X-Acto knife to get in good and tight. And the last thing, especially with these little guys, is make sure you slip in a little bit of head cement. I'm going to use my bodkin, just a sharp little point, just so it's a bit more precise as I get the cement down in there. There we go. All right. Just a little bit of head cement, and there we go. That's it. That's the Brassie. Like I said, I would tie up, if you're just getting started, tie up a half a dozen of these, and I guarantee you that the 6th one will be so much better than the first one that you tied. And then start varying up the sizes and really focus on making sure that the body's tapered so that your copper wire wraps nice and smooth. And then finishing off the head is one of the more the finer points of this fly. But yeah, there it is. Not a hard fly, not a complicated fly, but it's definitely a good one to get started. So hope this helped, and good luck out there.